Welcome to
That's High Praise,
a Nicolas Cage podcast.
I am your host, VHZest.
I am your other co-host, Captain Nostalgia.
All right, so what we were going to do this month was finish off 1994, right? So we realized Nicolas Cage has released 4 movies in 1994, and we have covered 3 of them. And we were going to do the last one, and then it wasn't streaming anywhere, and we didn't own it. So we decided to kind of fly by the seat of our pants a little bit, and picked a little bit of a random Nicolas Cage movie.
Let's be honest, this one kind of also flies by the seat of its own pants.
It really does. It really, really does. So this is 2018's
Between Worlds.
Between Worlds, yeah. Cool, so this is a movie that we watched.
All right, so Nicolas Cage plays a truck driver named Joe, who essentially is a widower and kind of can't make his truck payments. And
whatever that is. I'm not even sure.
So essentially he ends up in Mobile, Alabama, and comes into contact with this lady whose daughter was in this accident, and then the daughter ends up becoming a host for his dead wife, and yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize you were going to go that far into it that soon. Now we have nothing to talk about.
I mean, this movie is something else, man.
It really is. It really is something else. It's strange. Like that phrase, don't judge a book by its cover. If you went into this movie excited about it based on the branding, you would have made a mistake.
Yeah, this is interesting that I'm surprised in over 40 episodes of covering Nicolas Cage movies, we have yet to actually bring this up. But when Nicolas Cage does a movie that is released by a check. Hey. Okay, there it goes. Check. So when Nicolas Cage does a movie that's released by a non-major studio, they have this way of making these movies that are really exciting and marketing Nicolas Cage in these really badass positions.
Yep.
And then the movie that is actually given is something completely different. Deadfall does this, Grand Isle did this, and this movie also did this. The poster for this movie is really interesting.
It's rad looking. It makes him look like he's John Constantine or something, right? Which Nicolas Cage as John Constantine, I'd pay money for that.
Yeah. Do you want to describe the poster?
Yeah, it's got an upside down cross on it, and he's got fire all over him, and he just looks he just looks so tough. And it's got between worlds, whatever, he's some sort of Blade-esque daywalker, or he's this is supernatural and he's gonna go fight some demons.
Yeah.
Not at all. He drives a truck. He has a perpetual neck beard. He has a trucker cap on, and he's just this aging Southern boy who believes you don't treat women that way in the South. And he just gets caught up in something that is vaguely supernatural, but it all kind of happens to him. He has really no control over it, and it's interesting.
Yeah, the poster for the first time I watched this movie, because this is one I watched and you hadn't watched. The first time I watched this, I saw it on Netflix, and it had that poster, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but this just looks cool and fun.
Yeah.
And I was really thick into my Constantine phase.
Yeah, right.
So you're right. I feel that's an adequate description. He kind of looks like you expect him to like have like a sword in like one hand and like a demon head in the other head.
Yeah, like that movie, like what was that Nick Cage movie, Season of the Witch or whatever?
Yeah. And that's not really the case for this one. It's like you said, like I don't know how else you would market this movie, because this movie is like really, really different. And it's like, it's one of those movies that I feel like because of how bad it is, that's what makes it entertaining.
Yeah. Not in the like campy B-rated movie way that like you're laughing at the fake blood or like the really, just overly acted dialogue or anything like that. It's just like you don't know what it's about to happen next, and when it finally happens, you're kind of like throwing your arms in the air, kind of laughing, just overall a little confused as to like, why is this dude just staying with this woman for 3 days now, completely unprompted, being late on his next like truck delivery and his payments and stuff like that, and it's just like, why?
Yeah, this movie's like really vague on like also like who Nicolas Cage is as a person. Like, they're like, oh, he was a widower. He had a wife and a 5-year-old daughter. They give the backstory of that, which we'll jump into later. But he's a trucker.
Yeah,
and that's basically all we know, is that like he's a trucker. He's not good at his job, and he's behind. And they kind of like explain that like he's behind because of like being a widower. At least that's the way that I read this movie, but it's never like overtly like explained like what kind of trucker he is, why he's always late.
I don't know. I kind of saw some irony in that, because they kind of like later on they go into the idea that like, oh, as a trucker and a husband, he was just not there enough. And that was like a big problem with his family. And so now it's like his family's gone and yet he's not a good trucker.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. Like this movie's, it's just real vague on like his like details, because it seems just wanting to essentially tell this like story that almost kind of equivalates to like what I would say like just dirty fan fiction would be like the equivalent.
Honestly.
To, or like the plot of like a really cheesy porno.
Yeah, that's interesting to put it quite that way, but like he ends up kind of being in this relationship with this lady that he like saves from this guy, and he. You
want to do a trivia real quick?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of a sentence.
Okay, all right, continue.
And anyway, so he goes with this lady. This lady's like daughter is in the hospital. He drives her to the hospital, stays with her for a few hours. And she has like this supernatural episode that's brought on by like a near-death experience. So normally what she does is like she asks whoever she's with to choke her, which is how they met, because he thought she was under attack. And so she has this experience, and just wanting to make sure her daughter is okay and save her daughter somehow by like reaching out to her spirit or whatever. And anyway, the daughter like wakes up after a bit, sees Nicolas Cage's character, recognizes him, and and then anyway, so he goes to stay with the mom for like a couple hours, which turns into a few days after they like start doing it and stuff, and it's just kind of just goes from there.
Yeah, and
doesn't change a lot. Just
No.
kind of goes from there.
So the line that when he first meets her is like it said, like there's a guy that is choking her in a men's bathroom truck stop, and the line that he says to her, and this is kind of like the pinnacle of like how cringy some of this dialogue is in this movie, is "We don't hit women in the South."
Yeah.
Or
well, I burst out laughing. I was like, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
But it didn't get better. So
Did it need to get better though?
couldn't have hurt.
So that line in particular is actually a callback to 1997's Con Air, where Nicolas Cage's character says, "We don't treat women like that."
That's rad.
So, a little bit of inside there.
He also had like a wife and a daughter in that movie too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That he was always kind of like trying to get back to because of the prison. So like, yeah, so this woman also has been like divorced or like left by her husband, and there's like some like
basically like her husband had like PTSD because he met her in the war.
Yeah.
She was German, he was US. So they came home, he traveled a lot. She became a trucker because she liked to travel a lot. She tried to use her mystical powers thing to like help find his friends from the war and couldn't, but then he kept seeing his friends and it kind of just drove him crazy.
Yeah. Also, so I want to ask specifically, so the woman that plays this like lady that he hooks up with or meets, and this is played by Franca Poeti, and she's
from the Bourne movies.
Yeah, she's in the Bourne movies, but like the thing that drove me wild about her performance was that it's established that she's from Germany, but her accent kept coming in and out from like German to like Southern. It's like she couldn't decide what she wanted to do.
That kind of makes some sense though. Like to me, that's pretty genuine. Like if you go from one area where you speak a language and you have the accent associated with that language, to you go to another area that has, like the South specifically, has like quite an extreme accent to it, that would make some sense to me.
But it also is established that she also herself was a truck driver. So we're not even like led to believe of like how long she actually stayed in Mobile.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know.
Also, this is the third movie that Nicolas Cage has shot in Mobile, Alabama.
Really?
Yes. And this is the fourth film that he has done in his career where his name was also Joe.
Yeah, I was going to say something about that. Like, his name is just Joe again. Yeah. He also, there's a weird, very weird fourth wall breaking aspect of this movie.
I don't know if I caught that.
You did. We talked about it. Because Nicolas Cage's name is in the movie.
Oh yeah, so there's a point where, all right, we're just gonna go to spoilers because I feel like I can't talk about this movie.
There's not
anymore.
A ton of substance.
There's not,
honestly. Like there isn't a ton of substance. Like once you learn, which you could pick up on very early on, once you learn that like his ex-wife is reincarnated into this woman's daughter, which is what happens, there's nothing left to learn in the movie.
So they present it really subtly. Like there's this moment between them in the hospital where she's like, I just want to get a good look at you. Like he's like, all right, well, I'm gonna go get your mom, and it's kind of this like sweet tender moment, and then like it's not brought up for like 45 minutes, and like the next like it's she is his wife reincarnate, kind of like subject matter is like, oh, she's on the couch like giving him a hand job.
Yeah, it's weird.
So, but yeah, so there's a scene where like she is kind of confronting him. She's like, yeah, hey, just so you know, like I am I'm your wife Mary, like this is like my new host body, and she essentially like convinces him. They have sex, and then also kind of it's weird because like there is a moment where like she wants him to read a book while they're having intercourse, and it's called Memories by Nicolas Cage.
Yep.
So
there's that. It's just a thing.
And it's like apparently like an established like practice that they had, because it like that scene in particular is like interlaced with like him and his like actual wife like doing the deed and having the same thing. It's
strange,
bizarre juxtaposition.
Yeah. As is the whole movie.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be a shorter episode.
Yeah.
There's
not a lot of substance to this movie.
No.
There really isn't. Like, it's kind of just they're making the rounds of like, will the mom find out that the daughter and Joe are together? Will the daughter find out that Joe and the mom are sleeping together. And it's just this back and forth. And then they find out and they try to run away together, and it gets dramatic for like 20 minutes, and then the movie's over.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's basically about it. Like this movie's cut and dry. I feel like there's not really a whole lot that like we can really say other than that. Like even the way this movie handles mental health is like, it just is really surface level. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of sad because here you have like two grieving story arcs that could have like been this like really sweet, really like satisfying, and in the end is kind of just like, oh yeah, well, like here are these two storylines that just happen to have both lost people and they found one another, but oh wait, there's a younger version and kind of like the sci-fi element that we're going to introduce. So like, I don't know, it just doesn't even handle grief really well, so there's not like lot that like we can even talk about.
I was going to bring that up too. Like, there's a number of Nicolas Cage movies dealing with grief, not the least of which is Mandy. And Pig, and that one, Vengeance: A Love Story, and this movie, and like there are a lot of Nicolas Cage movies that deal with grief, and
that deal with it a lot better than
this one. I was gonna say, and like given the amount of content that he has that deals with that topic specifically, this one is just, it's wholly unnecessary, and it does a terrible job.
So this movie, the entire time that I watch it, so like the first half of the movie is essentially him and Franca Porty's character, and why is my Julie? They're kind of like talking and like getting to know each other, and like he's helping her and she's helping him, kind of thing. And then like the twist happens. And so this when the twist happens, the way that the movie like portrays it, because it's like, it's really goofy. It's not good at all. I'm gonna read you a monologue from Step Brothers because this is what this movie reminds me of.
Okay.
All right. Here's a scenario for you, Dad. Suppose Nancy sees me coming out of the shower and decides to come on to me. I'm looking good. I've got a luscious V of hair going down from my chest pubes down to my ball fro. And she takes one look at you and she goes, "Oh my God, I've had the old bull. Now I want the young calf." And then she grabs me by the wiener. Yeah, that's kind of what this movie is in a nutshell.
Yep.
So,
yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Well, is there anything else we want to say about this movie?
I really don't think so.
Yeah.
This movie is not worthy of high praise. I don't think.
All right, so I'm gonna put this into a preference, saying that it depends on your mind. Mood / mindset. If you're looking for something campy and cheesy, kind of fun, that's just out there with really bad acting, bad dialogue, I'll say this movie is worthy of high praise. But if you're just kind of a casual moviegoer, this movie is skippable because there's way better sci-fi in Cage's filmography. There's way better character study pieces in his his filmography as well.
Yeah, it's just, it's okay. It has parts like, it made us laugh, but I think any Nicolas Cage movie at this point is going to make us laugh at some point.
And we should also preface that it makes us laugh because of how ridiculous it is.
It's not great, yeah. It's not ever at any point supposed to be funny. And I think that's one of its bigger problems, too, is it doesn't really, doesn't settle on a genre. Like, if you were going to nail it down, you could say it's a drama, but you could also say it's a thriller or, that, supernatural sci-fi-esque sort of thing. And it just floats too much, doesn't settle.
Yeah, can we also talk about the way this movie opens and closes real quick? Because, so this movie opens up on a girl in the, just frozen lake that is essentially drowning. And it's later revealed that this is Julie, and so you're like, all right, this is kind of where her character study ends. And after all of the main cast has died, there's an epilogue of Joe as a teenager killing his parents. It's a very strange juxtaposition.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really weird, and it feels like
Totally out of place.
it feels tonally out of place. It doesn't explain Joe as a character because Joe is like a super nice guy, perhaps apathetic and irresponsible, but like a kind person, and it's strange. Like, it's so weird. One thing that I think I really liked about this movie, if I can say anything, is that like because there are elements of like they're like flashback and flash forward elements, they weave those in very well. Yeah. I've seen things like that done very poorly, or at least in my mind, I thought they were very poorly done. And this movie, like, you'll see something and have no idea why you saw it or heard it, and then they bring it back around in the movie, and they do it really well. They do.
Yeah, well, I think this might be our shortest episode yet.
I need some trivia, Josh.
There is like no trivia for this movie. I've given you all the trivia. There's 3 trivia facts. There's the Con Air. There's the Mobile, Alabama filming Joe. And then the Memories by Nicolas Cage, Fourth Wall Break that we've talked about already.
Is that a real book?
We can find out.
Erica says no.
So, no, my wife is telling me it is not.
It is not a real book.
So,
big rip. I would love Nicolas Cage, if you're out there, please write a book called Memories.
We'll be back next month, but not on That's High Praise. We're doing an in-universe crossover to re-examine Mandy, which is something we're looking forward to doing. But until then, where can people find you online?
Yeah. You can find me at Mullet Stash on Instagram, at VHZest on Instagram. Yeah. Oh, you can find me at Twitter too. I think it's Micah_Kimber. I think.
Yeah, you're near Twitter now.
I'm a little newer to Twitter. I used to have a Twitter as a kid, as a teenager, but yeah, I mostly just retweet Josh.
Yeah, you guys can follow me. I am at Captain Nostalgia on Letterboxd. You guys can follow me on TikTok at Gent, Gent, Ghostface, and then follow our parent company, Victims and Villains. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, Patreon, YouTube, and wherever you guys get your podcasts from. And also check out our mental health resource library. Links are going to be in the show notes for all of that stuff. And if you're a filmmaker or aspiring screenwriter, consider sending us your screenplays, short films, and features to be included into our Horrific Hope Film Festival 2023, coming back to the Alamo Drafthouse in Winchester, Virginia, April 14th and 15th. Until next time, remember to keep on caging.
If you or someone you know is listening to this podcast right now and you're struggling with suicide, addiction, self-harm, or depression, we encourage you guys to please reach out. This is the heartbeat of why we do what we do. Suicide is currently the 10th leading cause of death in the United States, and as of this recording, there are 132 suicides that take place each and every day on American soil. And when you scale back internationally, there are 800,000 successful suicides. That is one death roughly every 40 seconds. So if you or someone you know is struggling, you guys can go to victimsandvillains.net/hope. That resource is going to be right in the description wherever you guys are currently listening or streaming this. There you'll find resources that include the National Suicide Lifeline, which is 1-800-273-8255. You can also text HELP to 741-741. We also have a plethora of other resources, including churches, getting connected with counselors, LGBT resources like the Trevor Project, and also veteran hotline as well. Please, if you hear nothing else in the show, understand that you listening to this right now, have value and worth. We get it. Suicide, depression, mental health, these are hard topics, and the stigma around them doesn't make it any easier. But please consider the resources right in the descriptions below, wherever you guys are listening, because once again, you have value and you have worth. So please stay with us.